Alrighty, my fellow old rollers, welcome to the show. The Scarecrow of Doom, brown belt under Nick Albin, the more famously known as Chewy in Jiu-Jitsu in our community. Is currently competing in the PGF, the Professional Grappling Federation. Brandon McCatherin's competition series that I've been watching. And I'm a big fan. It's been fun to watch. So, Matt, welcome to the show. Super glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. This is my first podcast I've ever done.
Well, this is the first podcast that I've ever done. If starting the show counts, and you know, I don't want you to think that this is something to be nervous about or anything like that. It's basically just two bald dudes talking to shit about young dudes. So, okay. You know, so if you're willing to do that, then you'll fit right in. I wanted to dig in a little bit for my listeners that aren't familiar. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit about the PGF, and then we'll kind of talk about your game and how that kind of plays into this conversation as well. So give us your introduction to jiu-jitsu, how long you've been doing it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been training for 12 years, and it's funny that it was around 2008, and me and my buddies were working at in a garage. You know, just that's when the UFC came out.
Yeah.
You know, it was really big, and you know, everybody was pumped up to fight. And one of my buddies, actually, he's with me tonight, going to be in my corner. He found this MMA magazine that had a jiu-jitsu ad for it. And I used to live in Lawrenceburg, and the ad was for a place in Taylorsville in Spencer County.
So these are both in Kentucky for those of us not in Kentucky. I'm in Lexington, by the way, so yeah. I know where you're talking about, but somebody not familiar with the area would say those are both south of Louisville.
Yes. So we tried it out, and I've been hooked ever since. You know, and I started out at Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of Kentucky for 8 years, and I decided to go to Derby City. And I've been there for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been great. You know, jiu-jitsu is such a wonderful art. Anywhere you go, it feels like everybody is just, you know, we're all weirdos, but we're all like weird in our own little way, and we all get along. You know, even crazy times today. You know, it's nuts.
There's not a whole lot of people that you'll meet outside of jiu-jitsu and maybe powerlifting, and I would possibly lump CrossFit into it, who make their hobby something that, like, most of the time is miserable. You know, like it's not fun all the time. Like, you're working hard and getting smashed and having bad days like every single day. And there's not a lot of people that are like, yeah, let's do that. You know?
Yeah. It's pretty intimidating at first. You know, what drew me into it was my very first day I got to roll with a 3-stripe 145-pound cop, and man, he took my back so fast, and I was like, I want to know that.
Right.
You know, that's amazing. I couldn't get him off me. You know, and it's like I felt powerless, and at the time I was a pretty big guy. I weighed 215. You know, and all I did was lift weights. You know, and you know, at the time I thought bigger was better. You know, and then you get
a lot of people,
and that happens to you.
Yeah, and your experience there is a common one, especially among people who, you know, have either an athletic or a sport background. One of two things happens when that 145-pound, you know, kind of mad enforcer, you know, bullies them up a little bit. They either say, "Fuck this is not for me," or whatever that was, I need to know. You know, and it's very much that decision. I don't know what personality type drives the decision that brought you to, I must understand this, but I would say that, to be perfectly honest, that's less common than the whatever that was. Fuck it, I'm not interested.
Yeah, you see that a lot. You know, we have people come in all the time, you know, checking it out, and they'll be huge, you know, and then we'll put somebody on there, you know, and it's just like, screw this, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I have a training partner really good guy. He's a young guy, weighs about 140. Similar, really good on the back. He just has these like razor blade wrists,
Yeah.
and there's just no keeping him out from under your chin. Like if you don't win the grip fight, even though he's not that experienced, he's gonna he's gonna choke you. And so it's fun to watch people that are much bigger and stronger than him, have to deal with that. Because I'll be the first to admit, I'm a purple belt and he's a white belt, probably pretty close to blue. But I've been caught by him a few times because I'll let him get a little bit farther than maybe he should have, and then it's too late. And like if I miss the grip fight, I'm toast. Like you're not gonna beat him with those wrists, man. And you just can't keep him out from under your neck.
How long have you been training?
I've been training for 5 years. And right before the kind of COVID shutdown in March, I was awarded a purple belt. So
awesome.
Thanks. That was a really heavy day. I'm not proud to admit this, but I cried pretty hard actually, because I never thought that was actually something that was possible for me. I really thought that I might at some point get a blue belt. You know what I mean? Like that was probably as far as I had the ability to go. And so to me, the way I always felt when I was starting and, for a long, long time is that, purple belts were like gods of war,
Yeah.
and even though that's not actually true, I still remember that sensation and to know that my instructor saw that in me, that I was capable of, in some way being that to someone who just starts out. And that's a bad measurement, but I still know what it felt like to be in the hands of a purple belt and just be, just like you said, completely powerless. And so that I felt that very proud of that accomplishment. That was not easy for me. I was not born with, some people pick this up a lot faster than others. I'm the others, like,
me too.
It's unfortunate that I like something so well that my body doesn't agree that I should be doing it as much as, it's like, well, let's do something else. Let's take up bike riding or something.
Yeah.
But watching you in the PGF, one thing that I love about the particulars of the PGF format is the size of the tournament and the fact that you get a ton of matches and your composite score is what takes you to the playoffs.
Yes.
Because for someone like me who doesn't compete a lot, I would imagine that maybe the first few matches, maybe even the first whole night of that tournament, there's some nerves and stuff like that. But you might, after a round or two, start to settle into a rhythm. And, like someone like you who you have a tremendous triangle game and the points are weighted toward chokes. So you can make up a lot of points. Like if you had a bad first few rounds, just basically maybe due to nerves or like, unfamiliarity, or I know you got a pretty long drive, like your body might be a little bit stiff or whatever.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, we got to turn this on and we're going to get these points back. And then you just started triangling everybody. I've enjoyed watching that, man. That nickname of yours, the Scarecrow of Doom, that's pretty legit. I agree with whoever came up with it.
I like the point, the point scheme of it. It's pretty cool. I think in 1 week I went from 11th in my division to second, because I got 14 points. We have a guy who's undefeated, and he's got nothing but breaks, and I think he's
right
7th or 8th in the conference. So that it's crazy, but I like, it's unique, and I believe it will be a big hit, in a couple of years.
Well, for those not familiar, the PGF has a scoring system. If the two players are the matches 6 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so the matches are 6 minutes, and if you go the whole 6 minutes and there's not a submission, then neither player scores a point, and so you go to the next round with 0-0. If a person gets a joint lock, that's called a break, and at this time it's worth 3 points. And then if you get a choke, then that's worth 7 points. So it's worth more than 2 times what a break is.
Yeah.
And what's been fun about watching Matt is you're a pretty tall guy. I've met you. Like I know you're over 6 feet tall and a little bit skinny. That's not to say like, oh well, he must do triangles.
Yeah.
But what it does say is like you have a pretty good long range guard. Like I've seen you throw triangles at people from places in that competition that were pretty far away, and I was like, I don't think there's oh yes there is, and that's a 10-point submission. So you can, like I said, like with that you can have a couple of bad rounds,
Yeah.
but if you focus your game plan around chokes and have a very competent choke game, you can make up a whole lot of ground real fast, just like you did.
I try to think of it like baseball, so I have three at bats. So if I get out, that's a loss. I struck out. If I get if I get a draw, that's like me getting on first, but my buddy got out.
Yeah.
If I got a home run, that means I got a submission. So
Yeah.
I try. I like to keep my average, at least 1 or 2 kills a night, before the season's over with, and that's been my goal the whole time. I know it's long. The last those 4 weeks in a row, that was tough.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this kind of goes toward the concept of the Old Rollers podcast a little bit, because the Old Rollers podcast, like I recently turned 40, and you said you were 39, so we're pretty darn close there. The goal of the podcast is to figure out ways of acquiring the greatest amount of skill and then maintaining that skill for the longest duration. So I want to, roll dangerously into my twilight years, so to speak. And from having watched you, you may not be the oldest in the PGF, but you're among the oldest. And I think maybe the only guy that was older than you, like recently dropped out. You said?
Yes, I think so.
But at 39, that's the beginnings of feeling some of those the physiological changes of being youth impaired, we'll say.
Yeah.
But you're out there mixing it up, and you don't look in any way like at a disadvantage. And especially given that this is a repetitive competition where like every week you got 3 hard matches, and then you're coming back and doing it next week. You're not getting time off, like a break or whatever. I think there was a break last week for everybody. Everybody got like 1 week off, and then it starts back over again. But in terms of your recovery and stuff, like I said, you're out there mixing it up, and you don't look disadvantaged. So are you doing some things during the week to keep your body fresh and to be able to turn it back on Friday?
Yes, man, I go right back at it on Saturday, and I'll train on Saturday. I'll train up to Wednesday. And then after that, I try not to do anything, and it kills me. Chewy gets on to me all the time because I want to roll on Friday night or Thursday night.
Okay.
And, but I'm trying to learn with that. But I feel good if I get that rest day. It just the hardest part of the matches is waiting. Like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The anxiety. To compete, that's one thing that there are some people that never get over it. Some people it takes, even dozens of competitions to get over it. And then others, like I said, that just never do. When you are out there, do you feel that anxiety is like, is it priming you for like performing at a higher clip? Or is that performance anxiety something that maybe brings you down a notch, or something where you don't quite perform where you were in the gym when you're in the competitions?
I feel like I train better in tournaments. I feel like I rise up to the occasion. I love that feeling. You talk about some people. I used to train with one of my good friends I used to train with, and we got our purple belts together. And man, he was a gym all-star. Gosh, he would maul everybody. But you put him in a tournament, and you could just see him. You could just see it you could just see his face, his facial expressions, and it just hits some people. I love the feeling where you don't think about anything else, but this guy's trying to hurt me or embarrass me. And that's all I think about. But it's such a good feeling.
Well, what I like about what you're saying there is that I know that you feel that nervousness, but I feel like you kind of take it and you twist it to where it's like, okay, this is spooling me up and and making me at a higher level of focus and a higher level of excitement so that I can just drive and perform. Whereas some people that anxiety, it makes them second guess everything. It makes them like look at everything differently than they would. Just like you said, like there's some people in the gym, they're just flowing and they just maul people, and then they get like a referee, and suddenly it's like they got a set of eyes on them and they start second guessing everything.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it a bunch. It's crazy.
Well, one thing that has been cool to watch with your game is that in the PGF, I know that the points are highly favored toward chokes. Because you get, like I said, more than twice what a joint lock would get you. And what's cool about that is that from watching how the matches have played out, that point structure incentivizes passing without giving points for passing. Because there are some chokes that you can do from the top without passing. There, I've seen some Darce chokes from top half guard.
Yeah.
Some guillotines from there, but there's not a ton that you can do from. Certainly, your availability goes up if you pass the guard. And so when I saw the points, I thought that pretty much everybody was going to be playing from the bottom and trying to get basically just triangles.
Yeah.
And so when I watched you, I was like, clearly that's going to be this guy's game. And then immediately you just started wrestling, like.
Yeah.
So, but you've done very well. Like you seem to have 2 or 3 game plans that you're willing to flow with, depending upon what your opponent is kind of giving you. So talk a little bit about that, how you devised your strategy to emphasize the chokes, but not necessarily just your triangle game, which is obviously really high level.
I just try to mix it up because that's my number one go to is I'm going to go to the triangle, but I try to mix it up. I like to wrestle. My wrestling's not very good, but I guess nobody's is in jiu-jitsu unless you came from a wrestling background. But yeah, I just try to mix it up because it's a game, and when you start having guys, starting off and their hips are back, and they're looking for either guard pull, so you're gonna have to switch it up, and I just get there whenever when it's there's an opening. So
yeah. Well, I really like that mentality. A lot of people say, that your game plan should basically, there should be one game plan, which is you're going to do your one thing. But I think specific maybe to this tournament format, but just in general, having multiple good options that you're willing to go to, and just like you said, to mix it up, makes it where nobody can just have one game plan to shut you down. So I think there's a lot of validity to the idea of being a great triangle person, but also having a really great top game. And from watching your passing and stuff, it's pretty darn high level. Like when you get the takedown, a lot of times you're getting the takedown and not having to even deal with the guard. You're taking the person down directly to a top position, and that's exciting to watch, especially for a guy with a guard like yours. You don't see a lot of people put that effort into building that takedown game like that.
We have a lot of good wrestlers at Derby City, and and Chewy's one of them. So I've learned in the last couple of years that it's all about grips. So you get your grip, you go with it. I mean, I'm not afraid to, if I do miss it, what's the worst thing going to happen? I'm going to be in guard.
Right. Yeah. That's such a great mentality. I never would have thought of that, but that makes perfect sense. Talk a little bit about how you built that triangle game. Right before the show we started recording, you had said that you'd spent a lot of time with Chad Hardy, and so I wanted to hear about some of how you devised some of those your tactical kind of entries and stuff like that in your setups.
Well, but before I started training with Chad, one time I was a purple belt, and I was doing a tournament in the Ego, in Indianapolis at the Ego, and I had 4 matches that I lost by points, and I had a triangle, sunk in. I just couldn't finish it. So that whole ride home, I cried, and I'm just thinking, I had this. How can I finish it? So I just started doing a lot of tapes, and watching Ryan Hall stuff. And then once I went over to Derby City, Chad helped me with the angles, and he's amazing. Gosh, he's incredible. He helped me with just getting to the angle and and my setups. And it helped a lot. It definitely changed my game.
So you were obviously pretty darn good with the triangle previous to that, and then you made the move up to Derby City. Was what made you make the move over to there? Was that just like to work with Chad, or was that part of like moving in general? Or
it was more of a tournament. Where they Derby City is more of a tournament gym. The Gracie gym I was at was more of self-defense, and I just got more support from Derby City, and for years I would do tournaments there, and I'd be by myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can build like that. You need to have people around you. And it's hard to get that look if your school doesn't have that. Like the gill hooks and just the tournament game.
Well, there's I hate to there's some controversy or like bickering back and forth between what people would call like the self-defense or the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu side and some of the tournament side. I personally think like it's a big world out there, and so whatever makes somebody happy, then that they should be doing that, and so I like the idea that you said, I'm more interested in this, competition element. So you said I'm going to switch over and start working with some guys and gals that's more what they want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously Derby City has a pretty good competition team, good record. I've dropped in there a time or two and had some really, really tough roles, but also some of the funnest roles, like really nice people. It's like
definitely.
Just get after it and then, laugh and talk shit and, have, like make fun of each other while it's going on. So I've spent some time on that mat, and I could see why anybody would be interested in it, because culturally, I felt like I fit in really, really well. Just because, I'm serious about jujitsu, but I'm not serious about me. Like, so I'll if you want to make fun of me, that's fine. I've definitely got plenty of stuff that you can pick on, and so it's funny. Derby City and also Brandon McCatherine's gym, 10th Planet Decatur, both have that, like, smiling kind of savage, like shit talking culture. And I felt like I fit right in at both places really, really well. It makes sense that Chewy and Brandon are pretty good friends, because their gym cultures are actually very similar.
Yeah, it's something, man, because we're living in a crazy time nowadays. Especially all the riots going on downtown Louisville. And we have all races. We have every kind of person you could possibly think of, and everybody gets along on the mats. There's no hatred. There's no ill will. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together. And I think that's the coolest thing. I mean, you can't bring a group of people like that. You know, like it just, you know, in this society, somebody's going to have an argument or something.
And what's even more fascinating to me about that is that we're all trying to strangle each other.
Yeah, we're
So
playing play
like
murder.
literally, we have more intense conflicts than any two people arguing, because you know an argument, especially a pretty loud one, it operates within the rules of polite society.
Yeah,
If we thought, like, if I was arguing with you and I thought you would fight me, my way of arguing with you would be a lot different. But societally, we pretty much know that people aren't going to fight each other, and so things can escalate to a level that's a lot stranger, a lot heavier. And in jujitsu, every single day we're trying to attempt murder on one another in a simulation, and
yeah,
yet people with completely different backgrounds and completely different political ideologies, completely different cultural, you know, like upbringing, completely get along and chuckle and laugh and pick on each other and make fun of one another. And it's, I don't know, like, you make a really interesting point that, you know, society might do well if we made everybody go to 2 jujitsu classes a week.
definitely. It would change the world. Yeah.
Well, one couple of other questions, like, your body type, obviously you know, the Scarecrow of Doom. You're kind of a long, skinny guy. You have real long legs, real long arms, and I, from a body type standpoint, I'm basically the opposite of you. I'm like a little kettlebell. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I was built kind of to wrestle and nothing else. You know, it's like, but one thing, having rolled with you a time or two, uh, you were teaching a fundamentals class, and that I dropped in on at Derby City. And one of the things that I thought was really fun about the way that you rolled is that your role was dictated as much by me as it was by you. Now, I don't know how far you were into like a competition prep, or if
Yeah.
you were, you know, really game planning, but we had some exchanges of technique, and I could tell that you were kind of, because I was like a new guy to you, you were kind of just exploring, like, what am I up to, and what am I doing?
Yeah.
And there's something to that, and I don't know if that comes as you get more experience, or what, but I could sense you sort of analyzing my game and being like, like, just putting some calculations together, like, if I need to do this,
Hmm.
if I get stuck here, this is how I'm going to deal with this guy. And uh, kind of talk a little bit about how you might have developed that, because you were flowing in real time, but I could see you also, like, occasionally you would just immediately shut something down, but other times you would let me flow with something, but it would never put you in any kind of danger.
Yeah. When I'm rolling, I just try to see where it goes, and and I have fun with it. But I do have like a checklist I go down, especially in my guard. I know I try to get them in certain places, and I have a ABC waiting.
Hmm.
But yeah, I I just go from there, and to see where it happens. A couple things. Well, once I felt like I really started doing that as a brown belt, where I could see stuff and everything slowed down.
Hmm.
So man, that's about all.
Well, I think what you said there too, where you said, like, in your guard, you have some places where uh, you have, A, B, C, maybe even a D option. You have
Hmm.
some systems set up, and I guess looking back on it, maybe that's what I was feeling is, as long as you were within that hub position, I could kind of do a lot of stuff, and it wouldn't really put you in a whole lot of danger.
Yeah,
But if we weren't in that hub, that's when you were shutting me down and getting back to that hub position.
yeah. Just just out of the guard. My number one option, I try to get the sweep. I'm going to try to get you off balance.
Hmm.
That's the first thing, and then once I see any arm arm go inside, or if I can bait them into that, I'm going for it.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense to me, and uh, I from obviously from watching you on the PGF, I think your triangle game specifically is very evolved. There's been a whole lot of people that as soon as, and this is the other thing, as a 39-year-old guy, we should assume that you don't necessarily have the same speed as some of these 22-year-olds that you're rolling with, but the speed and the accuracy of your triangle shots is very, very impressive. It's a very high level. If somebody gets in there and they don't necessarily have to have the arm necessarily out, it can just be on its way, and you're snapping up around them while that's happening. And I've really enjoyed watching that, because I love people who have elaborate systems, and they're trying to find ways of putting someone in a lot of danger. But I also love people whose entries are so crisp that they don't have to have a system. It's just like it's on.
Yeah.
And most of the time with your triangle, that's what's happening. If the person makes a mistake, they're getting that thing clamped around them, and it's pretty much too late.
Yeah, that's my goal.
So with your entries and stuff, am I missing, like, is the crispness of that coming a lot from off balancing and kazushi, where the person just can't fight it off because they're having to try and keep themselves up, or is it the speed? Because if it's the first element, then that's clearly something that we old rollers can take and say, one of the ways we can slow some of our younger whippersnapper jerks down a little bit is just by keeping them off balance.
Yes, definitely. It's all about the angles, and so when you watch me, my when as soon as I get in guard, my legs are above their hips, so I'm at fully control. So I can feel where they're going. So once I move my hips, I know they're coming down. So I'm able to hunt that arm, or if they switch to the other side, I can just move both sides and catch them off guard, and that's.
Yeah.
I mean, it might look like I'm going fast, but I don't feel like I'm going that fast.
And that might be, that might be a secret to that game, but also to a lot of games, is that if you're keeping your opponent off balance from the bottom, it's very difficult for them to be offensive. But also you can start to look a little bit superhuman because their attention has to be diverted toward keeping themselves, in balance and base.
Oh, definitely. You can see it in their eyes when they get, if you have a good guard, and just watching other people, and you see them on balance and like, oh my gosh, or I felt it, before.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, you're sinking in quicksand.
Yep. Well, that covers a lot of what I wanted to cover from you. First off, we'll say, like, if you're interested in the PGF, which I highly recommend that you check out, all you got to do is just search Professional Grappling Federation or on YouTube, and then on Facebook. I don't know if it has a page, but I know there's the Brandon MC.Ninja group, which he puts all the video feeds in that as well. It's been my Friday night ritual. So I have 2 days a week where I do like long, slow cardio, and I don't have to pay attention to, what I'm doing or anything like that. I'm just keeping my heart rate somewhere in, like, say 120 beats a minute, just for, trying to grow old better.
Yeah.
So what I do is I'll turn on the PGF and I'll just ride my bike and just putz around and watch you guys. And it's been a really fun league to watch. And you've been one of the most exciting and most fun competitors inside of it to watch. So I was really thrilled that we got the chance to interview you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. When I first signed up for it, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, what did I get myself into? But it's been fun. It's something to look forward to week for week.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such an experience. Getting to watch these high level grapplers, and being a part of something special.
Yeah, I definitely think that you're right, that this is a special thing. I think Brandon is the right person to be promoting it. And I think at first I thought maybe it would be a novelty, but I wanted to check it out. And I think his scoring system plus the round robin tournament system, where it's a whole lot of matches, really does give people a chance to shine who might have some of that tournament anxiety. Where if you just
Definitely.
take them out and they got their matches on one Saturday, maybe they just bomb out and lose a couple and then they're out of it.
Yeah.
Well, with the PGF, if you have a good game for chokes and strangles, honestly, you can make up a lot of time and a lot of points just by
Mhm.
having one really solid day where you get three for three on chokes.
Man, that's
Suddenly
21 points.
you're in it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in it again.
Yeah.
And that
That I like that aspect.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting tournament, and like I said, it's been very exciting. And within it, the you're one of the top three most exciting people to watch because you just don't know what you're going to get. I expect you to be hunting the triangle, but like I said, quite a few times you come out and it's like slap bump and we're wrestling. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to learn more about you, how would they look you up and reach out to you? Maybe they want to get a roll in with you at Derby City or something.
Definitely, you can just look me up on Facebook and message me through there, and we can plan through there. And
Yeah,
we're pretty open at Derby City. Just you know, uh, message me and we'll set something up.
yeah. I can say, this is for anyone listening. If you haven't gone, if you get the chance, you're in the Midwest to drop by at Derby City. It definitely is a place that they're very welcoming of newcomers. I dropped in. I sent Chewy a message and just asked like, hey, going to be there for work. Wanted to see about a drop in and how much is your mat fees and whatnot. And he was like, the mat fees are just good vibes. Be nice. We'll be nice to you. Come in, have a good time,
Yeah.
and say hi to me. Let me know you're here. And that was it. And I was like, man, that's pretty awesome. And everybody there, like I said, it was some tough rolls. Like it's not a gym for chumps, but everybody was super friendly. I never ever
Yeah.
felt like that I was being beaten up on or abused. It was just like
Mhm.
these are going to be some tough rolls, and that's how it's going to be.
Everybody has good intentions.
Yeah.
Like you might. It's jiu-jitsu. It's a combat sport. You're eventually going to get kneed in the head. You're going to get elbowed. Something bad. You're going to tweak something. But as long as you have good intentions, and you're working on your game, that's when it becomes beautiful. When people can get along, and you look around, you see a kid working, that works at McDonald's, rolling with a 45-year-old lawyer, and they're just having a blast. How would those guys ever meet?
100%.
How would they ever
Yep.
be friends?
Yep. And what's so fascinating about that too? We've talked about that a lot. We and I'm gonna call you an honorary old roller because you haven't quite hit 40 yet. But
Yeah.
basically, anybody who's younger than me is not an old roller, and anybody older than me is. That's my line.
Yeah.
So because you're a couple days younger than me, you're not. But we, the old roller crowd, have such an interesting opportunity to be, kind of cultural leaders within, the jujitsu community. There's a lot of young fighters, and competitors, or just people looking for a workout, and they're exposed to, just like you said, a 45-year-old lawyer, or
Hmm.
in my case, we have a couple of attorneys, we have some cops, we have some doctors. I mean, people that they would not meet in a non-professional capacity anywhere else. And you can learn from that person about not only this hobby that you share, but they can share with you life lessons too. There's so much more to that mixture that is valuable than just what we get out of each other on the mat.
Oh, definitely, 100%. You'll meet some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. Just from training. And it's funny. I went to Missouri, Branson, Missouri, about a month ago for a family vacation, and my nephew who wrestles in Ohio was with me. He's 17, and we went and trained at this place at 5 o'clock in the morning, in Branson at an early class. And man, they were so welcoming. It felt like I was back home again. It was
Yeah.
like they were making fun of somebody.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
laughing. It was great. You had your old guys, you had your young guys, every mix. you know.
Yep. Yeah. If there's nothing else, you know, I feel very grateful that I found jujitsu. I found it by accident.
Yeah.
But even if you take the physical side out of it and what it's done for my physical well-being, which has been really tremendous, the mental side of it and the social side of it, and being a part of a community and a culture, being able to talk to awesome guys like you know, like there's just so much that it has offered that I didn't expect. I wouldn't have thought, okay, I'm going to take a jujitsu class and it's
Yeah.
going to change my life. You know, I would have thought, you know, I'm going to get in shape and I'll learn some self defense, or maybe I'll compete in a tournament, or, you know,
Yeah.
those are the things that actually becomes secondary or even third tier to the community and the culture, because of the quality of the people that you meet and how close you get to them. There's something about putting your life and your limb in someone else's hands that, like, you know, there's people that I have very, very different opinions with politically, you know, like,
Yeah.
or socially or whatever.
Yeah.
And yet I count them among my very best friends. And you know, you're putting your life in their hands. And just like you said, that environment comes, and when you sense it, it feels just like home. Because I felt the same way at Derby City, and then down at 10th Planet Decatur, it felt a lot like home where I trained, because it's the same,
Yeah.
you know, same scenario. Everybody's just like goofing off and like super serious about what we're doing,
Yeah.
but you know, like you get your, if you know, are the unlucky guy that gets a bloody nose or whatever, because you know that knee did, you know, come at you.
Yeah.
Well, now we're gonna bust the other guy's balls pretty bad for doing it. You know, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be
You're never gonna live that down.
yeah, 100%. So I don't know, like for me, the gratitude, I guess I could say this about the show, because the show, through the interviews, I've learned things that I never thought would be interesting to me about, you know, like jujitsu. Even the goals of the show. When we interviewed Tom Corey, I thought I wanted to be tough until I was 65.
Yeah.
Tom Corey started jujitsu at 65, and
Wow.
he's a tough ass brown belt at 72.
Golly,
So,
that's amazing.
man, look him up on Facebook. I'll link you up.
Okay.
To give you an idea of this guy's workouts, he does ab wheel rollouts from standing at 72 years old. With he straps his feet to one ab wheel and his hands to the other, and just goes out like this, like his whole body.
Yeah.
And he said he wanted to have a good close guard, so he started doing uh, close guard sit ups on a heavy bag for 5 minutes. That's one set. It's like 5 minutes
Golly.
of sit ups
Yeah.
and that's set one. Like he's doing 4 sets of that. So that's a 20-minute workout of 20
Yeah.
minutes of sit ups, you know, like with a close guard on a heavy bag. And so I talked to this guy, and I didn't know, you know, I wanted to learn about how he, you know, had you know, preserved himself and, you know, like kept himself in shape and stuff. I didn't expect that he was going to change my standards of what it meant to have longevity,
Yeah.
because like he's like whooping my ass. I'm 40 and
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed, you know, like I've had to up my own standards, because like if there's gonna be a Tom Corey out there, then I got to tighten my shit up, you know.
Yeah. It opens up your eyes.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to the Worlds or any IBJJF
I, I've
tournaments?
I've been to one of the Fujis that is a feeder. Like you can, I think you can get some IBJJF points from a Fuji.
Okay.
But I've not been to like an Atlanta Open or Chicago Open, something like
Yeah.
that. But I
I
have. Go ahead. Sorry.
I went to the Worlds this past year, and it was
Mhm.
just amazing. You know, you'll see like 4 or 5 guys in a division, you know, being 65 years old.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, it's like you got to roll them out on the mat, and then they're good. You know.
Oh. All right. We're not gonna let Tom see that.
Yeah, but it's amazing. You know, just watching these guys. I mean, they're doing the technique is flawless. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one exciting element, is that the quality of the technique. As long as you put technical training as your focus, the quality of your technique doesn't go down until very, very late in life. I think you can always find a game that works for you. I mean, we've interviewed a guy named Brian Freeman, who he had an accident in the Navy and it made him paralyzed, partially paralyzed below the waist. So he has some use of his legs, but they're nowhere near what an able-bodied person would be.
Yeah.
And he competes in the regular division. He doesn't like compete,
Man.
like in a para division or something like
Yeah.
that. He's going out and he's like, what we figured out was I needed to pull like a bottom side control, almost like a guard. He's like, because people could pass my guard so easily, it made no sense to pull guard. And he's like, if I'm pulling bottom side control, then I'm pulling with my frame set the way that I need them to be offensive. And he has an offensive system from bottom side control and bottom mount, where in competition against able-bodied people, he's finished them from the bottom of these positions and won a lot of matches. And so that's exciting to me because the lessons learned from someone like him and from Tom show us that as long as we're willing to put the effort in to discover it, no matter what our body gives us, that we're going to be able to find a game that will work for it. It may not be the game that because I don't think Brian wants to be on the bottom. That's not something that he appreciates, but he knows that he can work from there and get sweeps and get reversals based off of that high level submission game from the bottom of bad positions.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's a puzzle, like it's a crazy, and that's one thing that jiu-jitsu gives you, because you're going to be smashed a lot, and it's like you're going to have to shut up and smile,
So unfortunately, we had at this moment in the recording a brief connectivity issue. Matt is at a hotel in Alabama, and he was awaiting his shot to go compete in, I believe, week 5 of the PGF. And as hotel Wi-Fi sometimes does, it kind of crapped out on him. So we had a little bug out. Unfortunately, when we joined back up, being the white belt podcaster that I am, I actually forgot to hit the record button. So we talked for a good while, and it didn't record. So I'm a white belt on that. And I'm going to ask you, despite my white beltedness, if you've made it this far, it's clear that you're probably getting some value out of it. What you're hearing, it's helpful. It's been helpful to me. I'm betting it's helpful to you. So I'm asking you to help me help you. Hit the old like button if you're on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you get notified when a new video comes up. And then if you're on audio only, subscribe, be that Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever your particular service is. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, leave a review. Say, hey, this podcast is awesome. It actually really does help. And the other big thing that you can do is share it with a friend. Whatever way that you listen to it or enjoy it, shoot it over to a friend and say, hey, check this out. This can help you. It's helped me. Because I'll be honest, it's helped me a lot. I'm already different in my approach, and I think more intelligent in my approach. And as we get older, we got to be smarter because we got to outsmart these young cats with their youth and exuberance. So at this moment, when we recorded, and like I said, I didn't record, really what I was talking with Matt about is how some of our younger partners figured this out quicker than we do. And I shared a story about, I don't want to share this, but I ankle locked one of my partners who'd been training about 6 months, and I think I'd been training 3 or 4 years at the time. Ankle locked him once or twice, and he goes, hey, show me what that is. So I did. I just gave him the basics of how to enter the very most basic ashigarami or single leg X entanglement and the breaking mechanics from there. Definitely not, like a Danaher style, lesson. I wouldn't pretend that I really taught him well. I just showed him what I knew. This son of a bitch goes on to crack my ankle 5 separate times. Now, obviously, he didn't break it. I tapped, but he tapped me 5 times in a 5-minute round with this ankle lock. He just understood the single leg X, how to sweep and how to get to it. It was amazing that somebody could understand it that well, that fast. was also very frustrating. And that's the jiu-jitsu lesson for today, is that this shit's frustrating, but you just keep plugging. If you, like I said, if you're getting some value out of this, help me. Like, share, subscribe, and maybe leave a review, comment, preferably a good one. It makes me feel better. You know, my mom, very proud of me, would hurt her feelings if she read all these bad reviews about how bad her son is doing. So do me a favor and do that if you can. It's awesome. Either way, back to the show. I'm so excited that I got to talk to Matt. He is such a hoot. And man, if you're not watching the PGF, Brandon McCatherin's new tournament, definitely need to check that out and watch the Scarecrow Doom throw those crazy triangles at guys. It's pretty darn amazing. Back to Matt.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I thought I was just stopping the recording. It turns out I was starting it, so everything we just said was not recorded. But what we'll do is we'll just say that my old rollers really missed out because we just had every insight on how to do jiu-jitsu at the highest level until you're 100, and Matt shared it, and I didn't record it. I'm kidding. We mostly talked shit about people that were better than us, and you probably didn't want to hear that anyway. But what we'll do is we'll just wrap up and say, Matt, really happy that we got the chance to have this conversation with you. And want to bring you back on the show as you continue to compete in the PGF and as you follow or as you move on in your training and whatnot, because you're definitely part of the family. We're excited to get to spend this time with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and it was awesome talking to you.
Absolutely.